Hobby Quick Hits. Delivering that breaking hobby news directly to your earlobes. You want to know those hot drops from the card shop? We've got you covered. With your host, John Newman.
Welcome to episode 206 of Hobby Quick Hits. Today's topic, prospecting in the hobby. Something I used to do. I really don't anymore. Now, I may go after a certain player per se, but I used to really prospect hard, especially with Bowman and open. I opened a case one year, opened multiple boxes. I don't do that anymore. And on today's episode, I'll talk about when I did it and why I don't. So hopefully semi-interesting anyway, and maybe even throw in a couple tips to, help you if you do prospect, and what worked for me or helped me out during the times that I did that. So let's start the show.
Okay, now a quick word from our great sponsor, followed by the new product release schedule. Then we'll go around the Hobbyverse to tell you all the latest hobby happenings and news. Then we'll tackle today's topic of discussion.
Hi, this is Pat Hughes, Cubs announcer, coming to you from the Sports Card Shop in beautiful New Buffalo, Michigan. The Gocher family has built an incredible place here for collectors to buy, sell, and trade cards and memorabilia. Be sure to stop by and let them show you around. TheSportsCardShop.com, connecting sports, athletes, the hobby, and collectors around the world.
Hi, this is Alan Pinkett, and I'm here to tell you the Gocher family has done it again. They've just opened up the Sport Card Shop in downtown Valparaiso, Indiana, and it is awesome. If you're a collector, you need to check this place out. Tell them Alan sent you and get a free gift on your first visit.
Let's check out this week's Hobby Wax releases. Take it away, Owen.
Hey guys, it's Owen from Sports Card Shop. Let's go over the week releases. Starting off on the 7th, we have K-League Soccer, that's Prism. And then on the 9th, we have Keepsake Pieces X Collection and Panini Mosaic Basketball. And then going to the 10th, we have Topps Chrome Bundesliga Soccer Blaster and Topps Chrome Bundesliga Soccer. And then on the 11th, we have Topps UFC Chrome Blaster and then Chrome Megas of UFC. And then on the 16th, we have Panini EuroLeague Crown Royale Basketball, Panini Donruss Elite Football, Pulse Mandarin Football, Topps Chrome Basketball Sapphire, Upper Deck Credentials Hockey, and then going to the 17th, we have Panini Select Basketball Hobby Mega, Upper Deck Goodwin Champions, and last but not least, on the 18th, we have Leaf Pearl Multisport. That's it, guys. See ya.
Let's go round the Hobbyverse and catch up on this week's hobby news.
And find out. All right, unfortunately, let's start off with a sad note. Recent Hall of Fame baseball inductee, the Cobra, Dave Parker, passed away. I noticed in seeing some recent photos of him, was not looking great. Was hoping he'd get to have his day in Cooperstown, get up on the podium and make a speech. It was kind of a long time coming for him, but unfortunately he's passed away, battling some health issues. And so I'm sure his family will do a great job representing him up there on the podium for his induction here in July and August for Hall of Fame. And I mean, I guess there's some solace in knowing that he knew he was going into the Hall of Fame. What are the top 3 eBay searches when it comes to the hobby? Michael Jordan, number 1. The person I call the Michael Jordan of women's basketball, Caitlin Clark, finishes at number 2, and Jaden Daniels rounds up third. no major surprises there, but it goes to show you the power of Michael Jordan 22 years after his last appearance in a basketball game, that he's still such a hobby stalwart and number one on the eBay search list. Not surprised, but it just shows you the pull he still has hobby-wise. Congrats to Leaf. They have they've worked out a deal with the Major League Baseball Players Association to produce minor league baseball cards starting in July with a Leaf metal release. No mention of what players you may see or what levels of minor league ball, whether it be just single A, double A, triple A, a combination of all three, or other levels of minor league ball, but these will only be minor league players. They cannot have major league appearances. But congrats to Leaf. I'm not sure if Panini was efforting that and didn't get it done, but Leaf got it done. That will start in July. We've had a lot of, in Sports Card Nation, we've had a lot of people who are members of SABR, the SABR Baseball Club or Association, organization. They're caretakers in a sense of the history of the game. Talk about maybe some lesser-known players, talk about stats and different things like that. We've had members on Sports Card Nations, and now we have a second person that's been on the show that's won the Jefferson Burdick Award. They give that out once a year to a distinguished person who makes contributions to what they do. And so congrats are in order for Pre-War Cards, as he's known on social media, Anson Whaley, one of the premier historians when it comes to vintage and pre-war baseball cards, and very knowledgeable, lots of expertise, and deserving of the Jefferson Burdick Award. So congrats to Anson, and becomes, to my knowledge, the second alumnus of Sports Card Nation to win that award. We're not taking any credit for that, but I'd like to throw that in there. The other person that won the Jefferson Burdick Award was Dr. James Beckett. So congrats in order there for Anson. Golden Auction, Magic Bird PSA 10 closed out at $500K. Thought it would bring a little more than that, a PSA 10. If you know anything about that card, plenty of condition-sensitive issues. Print marks are very prevalent. Centering, whether it be left to right or top to bottom. Obviously, it's a perforated card, so you can get some tearing at times, and fringe, material hanging off. And so I thought there were less 10s than there actually are. There are 23 PSA 10s. Which isn't a ton, obviously. It's a low number, but I thought there were even less than that. I thought this would be a $1 million card, but great specimen nonetheless. All right, let's finish up with a story that's big news. Panini, stop me if you heard this before, Panini taking a little heat for their actions, if you will. But they recently launched a product via their Dutch auction method, where it starts at a high price and is a floor price. It's the 2024 WNBA Rookie Royalty 2-card box, if you will. Every box is guaranteed either an Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark auto, and one Kaboom or Downtown, the case hits. That's not just Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark. The Kabooms and Downtowns could be a variety of WNBA players. But each box is guaranteed one Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark auto of various products and numbering. The ceiling was $30K. The floor was $3K. I know Some boxes went for at least $8K. There's some speculation that when it hit the floor, $3K, they sold some but pulled some back. Obviously that's an allegation, no way to prove it. There was a limit of 10 boxes per transaction. A lot of mystery surrounding this product. How much was made? There's no set info on how many boxes were produced. And the cards that are in it come from will be either like National Treasures, Flawless, and Immaculate. So rather than make an Immaculate WNBA or Flawless WNBA or National Treasure, they made that product but put the cards into this, and obviously I don't want to say jack the price up, but getting 4 figures on a product. I've seen some opened. You're getting 2 cards, right? So if you paid $8K for a box, you paid $4,000 a card. If any boxes did sell for the base level of $3K, even that person has $1,500 sight unseen in each card. And let's be real, if you pull an Angel Reese auto rather than a Caitlin Clark auto, it's probably a losing proposition, depending on what your Kaboom or Downtown is. It's a lot of money, but it's, again, breakers are probably going to buy this up to do breaks on, and people are going to buy into those breaks. So, a lot of people didn't like the fact that Panini did this via Dutch auction to distribute it. A lot of people were upset that no numbers were released to how many boxes were made, but I got a feeling that number's probably high because it's become like a Chronicles issue where they're putting that National Treasures, Flawless, and Immaculate cards in the set, and rather than release those as standalone products. So be interesting to see what happens on the secondary market with the cards that are pulled out of these boxes. So, all right, there you go. All right, today's topic of discussion, prospecting. Going to be heavily baseball centered, but when we talk about prospecting, that could be any sport, right? But it's really heavily baseball because of the Bowman brand, right? When they started releasing draft picks and prospects products, where you could get guys probably 4 or 5, maybe even more years before they would ever make their major league debut. Where you don't see that in a lot of the other sports, right? That the other sports, basketball, football, even hockey, although there are some minor league issues with AHL and CHL, you almost had to wait till that player was in the pros, on the pro level, before you got cards. But Bowman changed that game, really around in the early 90s with getting those guys on cardboard and chrome, well in advance of a potential big league debut. And it caused a frenzy, right? And I don't want to say I got caught up in it, like I had no choice, but I love that stuff. I'm a huge baseball fan. I lived, whether it be New York City or Syracuse, I've always lived in a baseball city. Here in Syracuse, we have the AAA Mets. They've been the AAA Nationals. They've been the AAA Blue Jays. And before I got here, they were even the AAA Yankees. So I've always lived in a baseball town. I've always, with Syracuse, having the minors, you see these future stars come through here, and it gets your juices flowing. So I got into prospecting, even before Bowman really started putting guys from the draft in. I remember, you probably remember the 1989 Bowman release, Griffey's rookie year. Obviously, everyone was trying to get Griffey, but I was collecting Jerome Walton cards, Cubs phenom at the time, and trying to get as many Jerome Waltons as I could. I've still got 3 binders of Greg Jeffrey just rookie cards in my garage that my wife every once in a while asks me to get rid of, and I can't pull the trigger on. And now, I wasn't necessarily collecting, thinking I was going to put my future kid through college or anything like that, but I just enjoyed, as a baseball player myself, trying to speculate and predict who would make it and avoid those who I didn't think would be major league stars, right? And you don't guess right all the time. Matter of fact, you probably guess wrong most of the time. And when it comes to prospecting, you probably want to be right 5 or 6 out of 10 times. Otherwise, it'll generally be a losing proposition, depending on, the player and how much you're putting into that player. And some of the guys I remember, even before Bowman came out with draft picks, some of the guys I remember kind of stockpiling: Todd Van Poppel, Mark Pryor. I wasn't a Brian Taylor guy, but a lot of people around me were, so I would for whatever reason, I didn't think he was going to pan out. I thought there was a lot of hype being a Yankee and a hard thrower, so I would often trade him for other guys I believed in, and that was probably a smart play. Van Poppel, Mark Pryor, well, they had moments, definitely not a smart play, and that kind of became the backbone of one of my rules even today, right, is be careful investing in pitchers, because just one bad moment can change a pitching career. I mean, that can happen to a position player too, but position players not throwing 70, 80 balls a game in the high 90s or 90s. So more opportunity for arm injuries, surgeries, and the like. So even when I buy a certain player today, I try to stay away from pitchers. Sometimes I will break my rule. Most recently, 2 guys that I broke that rule for, Tristan McKenzie and Corbin Burns. Tristan McKenzie struggling to find some of that star form he had early, and Corbin Burns also now out for the rest of the year, maybe most of 2026 as well. Although I still like Corbin Burns, and when he's played, a very good pitcher. But you got a guy like Tariq Skubal, who looks dominating, right? But you never know. And so I don't always recommend, prospecting with pitchers, unless you get in really cheap. And Corbin Burns and Tristan McKenzie were while they right now doesn't look like a winning formula, I don't have a ton invested, if you will. Let's talk about a little bit of the trajectory of Bowman here to give a little perspective, right? The Bowman brand was reenacted, right? Brought back from the dead in 1989, as I mentioned, with the Griffey rookie year and Jerome Walton, among others. But really, it was the 1990s when Bowman really started. Their designs became better, their card size became back to normal. Let's talk about some milestones. 1996 was the first usage of the first Bowman logo that we're all familiar with today. 1996 was when that first appeared, but they were not consistent with using it. So there's there's players that have a first Bowman card that may not have a first Bowman logo on it. It really didn't start becoming consistent until 2003, so 7 years after they debuted the first Bowman logo. When did Bowman Chrome first debut? 1997 was the first time you went from just paper Bowman to having the Chrome edition of it. And I know that sort of set the paper versions back. I'm still a fan of both. They're both cards. One obviously is maybe a little sharper looking, but I appreciate the regular cardboard and the Chrome just the same. But 2000 was the year. That was the debut of when they start putting draft picks and prospects in before they made, a big league appearance. And I know Victor, my friend Victor, probably not a fan of that because it muddies the rookie waters. But as a prospector during this period, I enjoyed it. And I opened, I forgot, I can't remember what year because I opened so much Bowman through the early 2000s and up. But I opened a case one year. I opened half cases the other years. Then I would buy, 50 count, 100 count lots of certain players that I thought would hit. It's and sometimes you get it right, sometimes you don't. That's the fun, right? It's like gambling. It's not like gambling. In a sense, it is gambling. You're placing a bet on these young baseball players' careers, right? Whether they're going to live up to the hype or fall short. And I like to think overall I did pretty well, but not, I didn't get them all right. I mentioned some, that I didn't. And, Nolan Arenado was a guy that I was in early on that paid off. There's others as well. I kind of was in early on Vlad Guerrero, But so why do I prospect not at all or very little now? Well, let's be honest, right? When I was opening those half cases and cases of Bowman, the prices are not parallel to what Bowman goes for now. You could get Bowman for under $100 a box. And now, what do they go for? $300-400? I don't even buy the boxes anymore, so I don't even know. I just know, and as you probably know, they skyrocketed through the roof. What caused that? I don't think it's one thing. I think the infatuation with the brand breaking, where products don't have any trouble selling out. But I think Bowman really went to that next level with the 2018 product and the Shohei Ohtani craze. And really, I don't want to say just that, but that was a big catalyst to when Bowman started really going to the next stratosphere as far as, sealed wax prices, sealed case prices. And probably 2018 was the last year I opened a substantial amount of Bowman. And when I say substantial amount, not cases, I was buying blasters anytime I could find them. And I actually ran into pockets of them, and I opened quite a bit of blasters, got a lot of Ohtanis, and did well, and still have some to this day kind of put away as well for the long term, right? And that's the other thing with whether you prospect or not, is right timing. So let's say you pick a guy and he does have a great year and he makes his debut, or 2 or 3 seasons into his debut, he's looking like the real deal. Right now, you have to decide. Do I hold longer and let it kind of marinate and maybe potentially go up? Do I sell now while the iron's hot? Because you never know, that pendulum could swing the other way. So that's the game, right? When do I sell? Some people who maybe are less of fans, I hate to say it like that, they just wait until they hit. As soon as they hit, where there's a buzz, they're cashing out, right? They're like casino players, right? They hit on the roulette and blackjack, they're taking the chips to the window and getting the cash, right? I was not really like that. Unless, the only time I do something like that during my prospecting days, folks, was when I sort of felt like that was the pinnacle for that player, or I was nervous whether they could keep up the pace they were on long term. I thought that's sort of, they've hit their crescendo and it would only be potentially downhill from here. And again, it's a guessing game. You're not always right. Sometimes you are right. And I've been right and wrong in both case scenarios where I cashed out, sold those cards, and that career kind of took a turn for the worse, and it was good timing. I've done the opposite, right? I spoke about him, Shohei. I still have a decent amount of Shohei, but even during, that debut of his cards, I had a lot of Shohei, and I sold a lot early, including a couple autos and game use stuff and just general rookies that I probably wish I didn't sell as early. And you can't really kick yourself for it, but it crosses your mind sometimes, right? And that's the fun of it all, So do I miss prospecting? No, because I'm spending probably a lot more money on that. Do I still do that? I do it in this sense. I don't open the wax like I just previously mentioned on the same level I did. I might pick up a blaster or a box every now and then. More blasters on the retail level, if anything. But, I'm more of like a player prospector than a product. So if I think there's a player who's sort of the under the radar, and I follow all the Baseball America Top 100 list. I'm a baseball fan. I'm a fantasy league player, and in my fantasy league that I've been in 30 years, we have a minor league draft. That's how detailed it is. So I'm keeping tabs on these guys years in advance before they're ever going to see a major league field. So if there's a player that I think is going to be, potentially a great major leaguer, and maybe he's not highly ranked on the prospect list, I try to find that guy and buy him and get in when the ceiling's real low. But now with the draft being more publicized, more coverage of the draft, the prospect list coming out earlier and more prevalent, everyone sort of knows who the top prospects always are. And it's driven, we talk about the wax prices going up. It's also driven up individual player prices. I love Bobby Witt. I have a lot of Bobby Witt Jr. He's sort of my modern day guy that I collect, if you will, or PC, if you will. But he was a high draft pick, the son of a former major league pitcher, and so he didn't sneak up on anybody. Everyone knew about him. So while I did buy quite a bit of his stuff, probably didn't get him as cheap as maybe someone else who would be under the radar. But you can still be successful doing that. I bought Bobby Witt Jr., and he looks like the real deal at this point. And so the prices I did get in on him on, and I still have a lot of that stuff. I sold some and kept others. I'm ahead, if you will. And that's the thing. It's like any kind of gambling, right? You want to, if you gamble 10 times, you want to win 6, and at the bare minimum 5, or it's going to be a losing proposition. So, but it's as long as you have fun, as long as you don't go in debt, right? Like they tell you with gambling, I don't go to the casino like the younger version of me did, but I have some friends that do, and I always tell them, it's kind of cliche, but don't bring any more than you can afford to lose, whether that's $50, $100, or $1,000, whatever bracket you're in financially. Don't bring that ATM card and keep taking withdrawals, and then at the end of the day you're beside yourself and depressed because you lost your mortgage payment, right? Have fun with it, but don't get into a point where the fun gets lost in the mix because now you ran up a credit card debt or you cleaned your bank account out. And be smart, right? Do some research. It's like stock market. I own stocks. When I buy stocks, I try to research the company or listen to what some pundits or experts are saying about a company or a stock. Now, that doesn't mean they're always right, but if they're in that space, they generally and they're trustworthy. They know what they're talking about. Same thing with prospecting, whatever sport, right? Listening to what the scouts are saying. Someone asked me, what level do I start believing a guy's tearing up single A? Is that a time to kind of buy into a player? And my answer is not necessarily. What level do I start taking real notice if they're putting up numbers? Double A, because that's when if they're a hitter, they're facing those high draft pick pitchers more at the Double A level than at the rookie ball or single A level. They're facing those bonus babies at Double A and obviously higher. So when a player has a good Double A season, that's when my ears will perk up more than a single A season. Now that doesn't mean you throw away what they did at single A or rookie ball, but I want to see it repeated or close to that performance at Double A, because that's when they're going to face tougher pitching and kind of what they're going to face future big leaguers. They're going to face more future big leaguers at Double A than at single A. A lot of single A players kind of flame out, retire, end their baseball career, and then on to their real life's work. Double A is more of a long-term baseball player when we talk about baseball. Kind of close out this episode with, can you prospect in other sports? You can, right? But it's more like once they've already been drafted, and you got to be quick because there's no real minor leagues in football. There isn't hockey. I know there's the G League in basketball, but let's be real, right? Very few G League players become NBA superstars. So they're the higher draft picks, generally speaking, in the NBA draft that don't even see the G League. They make the ball club right out of the draft. So you have to be quicker, and you have to be, more responsive. You don't sort of get a 4 to 5 year window to decide I'm going to pick up some of his or her stuff. And I'll say her now. We have the WNBA as well. So, whatever sports you enjoy, you can prospect. Like I said, I do a lot less now, comparatively speaking, to my heydays in the late 80s and early 90s and up through the 2000s. But it's still fun. It's still fun to pick a player. While I'm more of a vintage guy, I mentioned Bobby Witt Jr. Love what he's doing. I have quite a bit of his stuff. There's a few other guys, that I've put some stuff away and forget about it, if you will. So, and I even do it in other sports. Football, I'm a big Brock Bowers guy, Marvin Harrison Jr. I kind of bought bunches of them and sort of sitting on them. I don't do it with basketball. Basketball is my least favorite sport. I don't do it a lot with hockey. I just don't open a ton of hockey all the time. So baseball and football tend to be my go-to. So hope you enjoyed the episode. Any questions? My door is always open. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you soon. All right. Thank you for listening to another episode of Hobby Quick Hits. Want to give out our social media, starting with our website, which is www.sportscardnationpodcast.com. Facebook, you can follow us at www.facebook.com/sportscardnationpodcast/ Twitter, we are at sportscardnati1, so it's sportscard NATI1. Instagram at sportscardnationpodcast, or you can email the show hobbyquickhits@gmail.com. Again, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.